So it's week 2 of the ongoing football festival in a rather revered Arab region. I'm talking about Qatar. And we've had some upset, some turnaround of events, especially for most that lost their openers in the ongoing tournament. Will Ghana be that lucky today as we draw our boots and lace up against the South Koreans in our second match of the ongoing tournament? A lot have said that Ghana is always lucky when it comes to second games in the tournament. That luck has to shine on the Black Stars and Otuado today to make sure that we're able to sail through from that group and make it to the next round of the competition. My name is Abigail, Sena, Sosu. Warm welcome to AM Sports here on the JoyNews channel. But my colleagues Gary, Al Smith and George Ado Jr. have been giving us all that we need to know, keeping us up to speed with everything happening in Doha, Qatar, and they have put this report together for us as we preview that game between the Black Stars of Ghana and South Korea.
Team Ghana are done training and are almost ready to face Korea in the second game of the World Cup here. Now, do you know that in the history of Ghana's campaigns in 2006, 2010 and 2014, they've always had a great performance? Did you know that? George, tell them.
In 2006, which was Ghana's first World Cup, we lost the first game to Italy by 2-0. In the second game against Czech Republic, against all the odds, Ghana won by 2-0.
Then in 2010, Ghana met Serbia, beat Serbia, had to beat Australia to get themselves into the round of 16 and drew. But it was a good performance, finished in a draw. Then they lost against Germany. So then again, the second game was good. What happened in 2014, George?
In Brazil, the Black Stars lost their first game to USA. In the second game, they had to pull off a fantastic performance and get a result against Germany. Guess what? One of the best games of the tournament, 2-2.
So we can call it the second game syndrome. But guess what? Of the 4 meetings between Ghana and South Korea, it is South Korea who won the second game against Ghana. Ghana has won 3 and Korea has won 1. Which brings us to our coverage of this game at the Education City Stadium.
Yes, and you know, we're expecting a fantastic game, and it's live on television on Joy Prime and live on radio on Joy 99.7 FM. Follow us on our social media accounts, Joy Sports GH on Twitter, Joy Sports on Facebook, and of course Joy Sports at GH on Instagram. 1 p.m. Ghana time, 4 p.m. Qatar time. Let's do it.
No doubt about it. We are going to give you all that you need to know, especially that game on radio and on TV and on Joy Prime. So you can join us at 12 noon for that discussion leading into that big game later at the Education City Stadium, like my colleagues have said. But ahead of that, Coach Otuado and player Daniel Amate were assembled for a presser. And Coach Otuado, amongst other things, reiterated that he will give a good account of himself and his players against South Korea.
At the moment, looks like Portugal, but if they would be a little bit unlucky, we could have drawn against them. So you see anything is possible, and Uruguay is good, and South Korea also. So I think it's an equal group. Anything can happen. There might be some surprises with nobody is calculating with, but at the moment it looks like Portugal is ahead of the group. This one, sorry but I can't answer. If I go in details, we will prepare South Korea to play good against us. So I hope you were on my side, but this question is a little bit made me thinking. No, sorry, I can't answer this. But we will see. Okay, what I can see, we see a passionate team. You know, we will see the same passion which they showed the last game. This I'm 100% sure is a big stage. Everybody's hungry to play. Training good, making it difficult for me to make decisions, and really looks good, and they will show it, I'm sure. Players have to be very, very fast in their head, and especially if we switch also with what we did against Portugal, the formation, and we play it differently, and they have to be fast and adaptive. But this is what they're doing in their teams. Amat is playing Leicester City. it's not a small club, for example, and this is the things they face there. And things go fast, and they have to be very, very fast in their head. And they did well. Surely we always have a plan. Good morning. And no matter if we would have even won or lost, this was also our plan after the match, to train in the morning and then give them free till 9 o'clock in the evening so that they can see their friends and families. So, but this hasn't got anything to do with the result. This was our plan from I don't know, we planned it in September. And we surely want our players to feel well and then to have a good relationship with the players. And I think personally, if you have a good relationship with players, they can perform even more.
Very expressive of Coach Otuado, and he says that same passion will drive them on. But I keep asking, what level of passion do we need to run fast and past the South Koreans? Only 1 p.m. on the pitch at the Education City Stadium will tell us. But I've been joined by seasoned brains when it comes to the game and the coverage and all, and they're going to share their views with me on how the Black Stars should prepare against that one and what they are expecting ahead of that game later this afternoon. So if you can hear me, Kaltufo, thank you very much for joining. And Coach Nanajiman, I'm also grateful for your time. Muftan Abila is also standing by to give us some conversation, but I want to speak to the Ghanaians first. Coach, I would want to begin with you because we will need more tactical brain and more tactical know-how to go into this one. We spoke at length after Ghana lost to Portugal, and you pointed out a number of things that didn't really sit down well. Is it passion that we need, or we need a man to go out there and do the job? Coach, can you hear me? Good morning.
Good morning to you, and good morning to all your viewers. Of course, good morning to Carl as well, and Muftau. Long time, Carl, I haven't seen you, but I've been watching you. You need a certain amount of passion, of course you do. It's always necessary, but it's not the passion that's going to win the game. It's the technical and tactical, individual and collective discipline, the focus and concentration. And the coach needs to set them up so they have a chance of winning. I think when we played Portugal, as I said, we had 5 in the back there. I didn't think that demonstrated that we had confidence that we could go out and do the job. It demonstrated to me that we were more prepared to absorb the pressure from the Portuguese. You can't absorb pressure for 90 minutes and not concede. It's not possible. I think we need to take the game to the South Koreans because they have very high energy levels. This is a 90-minute game, but I can tell you this, that their energy levels equip them to play for 120 minutes, even though it's not going to be required. So we'll have to match them boot for boot in that regards. The game will be intense, and it will be based on pressure. We must press them, even in their own half. We must press them, try to force errors, ensure that they have to play balls long so that they concede possession. And the transition, once we are in possession, needs to be very quick as well. We don't have time to play about in the back, which will allow them to organize themselves and to regroup and to be ready for our attack. We must transition the play very quickly. And be very forceful in our approach. I believe in terms of personnel that Tariq Lamptey should be there on the right-hand side, Gideon Mensah should be there on the left. I even believe that Kufitre should also start, and that we should use 2 strikers. We've got about 3 strikers out of the 8 that were listed. 3 are really strikers. And I think that let's start with 2 strikers. In the last game, we started off with 1, with Andre improvising as a striker. Let's start with 2. Let's give ourselves a fighting chance. And if it's not working at halftime, we can change things around. But that would be my approach.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much. Please hold it for me. Carl before. I think Mukhtar will want to take leave of us for another assignment. So Mukhtar, briefly, we got to you prior to the first game. The hopes were high, adrenaline were all over the place, expectations of the Black Stars were off the roof. But here we were, we lost that game. What is happening in Doha, Qatar, ahead of the South Korean clash later this afternoon?
Abigail, earlier I actually asked the question about passion. And if there's any passion that is going through the adrenaline of anyone, that passion is probably coming from the supporters. Right here where I am located is where the supporters were singing and dancing and praying on top of their voices to the Almighty God to give the Black Stars the needed win. Many of them have said Ghana has never lost a second game in the history of their participation in the FIFA World Cup. So they were praying here to ensure that the Black Stars have a very good game against South Korea later today. And some of them are still even here with me. And they are quite optimistic that later tonight the Black Stars would have a very good game against South Korea and probably pick up a win. First of all, when we spoke the last time, people were here dancing and cheering. What is the mood like as we head into tonight's game against South Korea?
Yes, for our camp, like supporters camp, we see we are charged and we have hope in our team that we are going to deliver this season. But the problem is, last time I said it on this platform, that if we do things right, so today I will say it again, if we do things right, we will score and score it on Friday. But if we go into the game with favoritism, we select our players, the player that we think they will play for us, then we are going back to Ghana.
No, but every coach has got a decision to make.
No, it's not about decision. At times, Dr. Keke someone said something like, if you know how to go, you also know how to watch it. We know the best players on top. I said, no serious coach will play Baba Rahman ahead of Gideon Mensah. No serious coach will do that. Someone who can attack, who can defend, and you put that person on bench and play someone who can know even runs. So that's what we are doing. So we expect Gideon Mensah to start for this game.
You expect Gideon Mensah to start for this game. You to tell me, pretty quick, how confident are you heading to the game against South Korea?
Today we are automatically sure that we win this game about 2 goals to 0 because we are telling Coach Otuado to do critical selection. If Coach Otuado did better selection, Ghana will win this game because we can't afford to lose this game. Two African countries lost their first game, second game they have won it. So Ghana is our turn to win this game today. So Coach Otuado should select the right players for the game.
We try to start the right players.
Okay, but so
yes, and what do you try to see tonight?
Yeah, I believe we win 2-0.
2-0, top place win, Your family is watching.
Yeah, my family is watching. I greet all my family members. Yeah, we win 2-0. Yeah.
But so we would have to run away from you today. We are hard pressed for time here. I want to speak to our experts here. Carl, sorry for keeping you waiting, but Coach Otuado during his presser said that playing 5 back, like we have thought back home that he was trying to soak the pressure and giving respect to the Portuguese. He said, no, that was a game plan. For you, did it work? And like the fan said, did Otuado do the right thing or not against Portugal?
I barely heard the question because of the noise that was coming through from
Mukhtar.
Okay.
So
if you
Carl, I'm sorry, I would have to take that again. So I was asking that for Otuado during his presser, he said that playing a 5 back was not any form of showing and the Portuguese side some respect, that it was a game plan. We have not spoken after that game. So briefly, do you think that if it were a game plan, did it work? And are we that optimistic that he did the right thing? And going into this game, what should we do? We need to win that one.
Well, I think it was a game plan. You can't run away from that. Many of us, as Nana said earlier, had been coming for the 3 centre-back system to accommodate both Jiku, Amati, and Salisu.
Yeah. And
then give the wing-backs the freedom to run forward so that, in effect, when you were attacking, it was going to be like a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2, depending on what you did up front. Okay?
Yeah.
I thought the major problem was the left wing back row. Maybe they should look at it But from experience, I know that coaches always give people a second chance. So that's one thing. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he maintained Baba Rahman. Having said that, I think the one thing that I noticed, I don't think Andre has got the legs to go back and forth again.
Yeah.
So I think it's a simple role for him. If I were in charge, I'd just either dump him up front and tell him don't come back because he hasn't got the energy for that, and look for the little chances that will come your way, or you don't start with him and you bring him on as an impact substitute. Now that would make also a bit of sense to me. But don't let him play the role of playing behind the front person, of going back and forth. He hasn't got the strength and stamina for that. Okay. Either you lump him up front alongside Williams, or you bring him on as an impact substitute. Having said that, I mean, we have 31 million coaches in this country. Yeah. To me, before the tournament, I said I was not looking necessarily for us to qualify. Okay. I was looking to look for some teamwork, and the job really starts in 2024 with the victory in the Nations Cup. So I'm not too perturbed. Even if, God forbid, we do go out, I still expect to see some teamwork to build on right up until 2024. And I think we can have a team, and emphasis on the word team.
Okay, let's go straight into that game this afternoon. I'm sure, like, even though you are trying to keep a measured expectation, you would wish that at least we win a game in the tournament, given how our African counterparts have come back strongly in their second games. Do you think we can also follow that trail and have a good scoreline after today?
It could. It could. Depending on one, how the team or the players play, but more importantly, depending on whether the VAR quotation marks is working. Because one thing that I noticed previously was that throughout the match against Portugal, there was no use of the VAR, even for contentious decisions. Listen here, there's been rumors that the VAR on that particular day didn't work. It's both positive and negative for us. Yeah. Positive in the sense that Halidu would have had a red card if the VAR had looked at it. Yeah. The penalty would not have come, and maybe the third goal would not have been accepted with those lines being drawn. Having said that, it is imperative that we get off to a flyer. We do not need to concede first. That's the main bane of the team. Okay. Conceding first. Listen, you've got quite a few individual players who can gel with one another. Look at it. Look at the team in its entirety. And just maybe, I know I'm going to be controversial here, maybe we need to look at Jordan and see whether we start with him. Because I keep on asking myself, if Roy Hodgson, Patrick Vieira, and all the other Crystal Palace coaches keep on fielding him, then there must be something he's doing right. And maybe we need to stop looking at the goals that he doesn't score, but look at his work rate and get him involved in one way or the other.
Okay, Carl, thank you very much for your time. I'm sure we will get to talk after that game later today and then see if they really paid attention to all that we have mentioned this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure's mine.
Okay. Nana, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, but Carl made some salient points how we need to prepare for that one against the South Koreans. This is a pacey side that will need us to run and outrun them if we really want to win. So briefly, how do you think we should approach the South Korean from a tactical point of view? Okay. Nana, can you hear me?
Sorry, I can't. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
I say we maintain the defensive three.
Okay.
We keep that. There's no need to change or improvise on that. And we spread Lamptey, Samad, Cher, Partey, and Mensah right across the middle of the park. And then I think what we do then is we put Williams to partner with Semenya. And we see what happens in the first 45 minutes. That's what I think is important, because this team will give them, this team that I'm outlining to you, will give them a run for their money for 45 minutes. Won't be perfect, but at the end of the day, what we will have on the bench is something that's more dynamic than we've had before. Because as Carla says, Andre can't last the entire duration, but he has a fantastic eye for goal.
Yes.
If it's 0-0, we can bring on Andre.
Okay, Nana, thank you very much for your
We
thoughts.
can also join in with kudos.
Okay.
You know, it can be more dynamic and more impactful than the first half if things aren't going our way.
Okay, Nana, I'm sure we'll talk again after the game like we did with the first game. So we are grateful for your time this morning. But I'm also joined by Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, former president of the association, board member of one of the oldest clubs in the country, Accra Hartlepool. He had a lot of in-depth and insight when it comes to the game and the players at hand. Doctor, it's good to have you this morning. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, Doc. Yourself, please.
I'm fine.
Well, it's a World Cup period, and sorry to have woken you up this early if we are not already up. But you have been at the helm of affairs before, seen it, been there, not at the World Cup though, but you've led and known these players as they have gone through the ranks. Ghana at the World Cup lost our first game. We are going into the second one against South Korea. Your impression of the team so far, and what do you think we can do right today?
I think firstly, as a team, we have to work carefully at these three things. If we lack any of them, we shall flop. Stamina, speed, and resilience. I say so because football is not what it used to be. That mambo type of football the Brazilians used to play years back is not so. Any team that has got the stamina, speed, and resilience, if you watch carefully, these are the teams winning matches at the moment. And those who displayed it beautifully from the African continent was Morocco against Belgium. So I would say these are the three things that should be at the mind of the technical people. If they have trained them to have that stamina, if they have trained them to have that speed, the 100-meter speed, and if they are training to be resilient, I'm sure we shall win this match.
You watched that game against Portugal. We didn't show all of these three elements in that game.
Absolutely absent. Absolutely. It was in the second half that I saw traces of this in my game. And also, that brings my mind to one thing. When you win a match or you are playing a match, it is not necessarily trying every player. A player who has got to a goal, you don't drop him immediately. And you don't just drop him, but you drop a very, very important defender or midfielder. I'm not surprised that we lost that match.
Okay, Doc, that's why the fact that you saw some glimpses of this resilience and speed and stamina you're talking about latter part of our first game. Do you think that we have the men to show that in the second game through and through, so we get the much needed points from South Korea?
Look, what we are going to do, or what is happening in Qatar now, everything depends entirely on the technical team. Their ability and experience is what we see being displayed at the various stadiums. So if we have the men, and I'll say we have the men, and we don't have good handlers, then we shall be in trouble. Now look at what the Germans did yesterday to the Spaniards.
Yeah.
It tells you straight that the Tenka team is really, what do you call it? They know exactly what they are doing there. You can see. If we lack these three areas that I mentioned, it's not a question of prayer all the time. Prayers don't answer everything. It's the work you put in that will give you the good result. And the leadership. And the leadership, when I say leadership, I'm talking about the technical thing. The whole thing rests on their shoulders.
Okay, Doc, thank you very much for your time this morning. But before you take leave of us, are you still optimistic of a win today?
No, if you say, look, I've never been pessimistic in my life. You follow me. But I believe strongly that if you work hard, whatever you want in this world, you can achieve.
We are grateful for your time this morning on the JoyNews channel, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Okay, so I think we had some good insight going into that game against South Korea later this afternoon. But remember that we live commentary on Joy FM, and also you can watch us on Joy Prime with a discussion from 12 noon with Nathaniel Atto and his panel ready to give us that game later in the afternoon. My name is Abigail Sosu. Thank you for your time on AM Sports.